He went from being completely broke, having no money whatsoever, to having $750,000 within 6 weeks after he fell asleep doing this for only 3 nights. And this person was actually coached by Neville Goddard himself in the back of the Wilshire Ebell Theater. And we also know him as my grandfather, which is Elmer O'Locker Jr. My grandfather went to see Neville Goddard, and Neville Goddard gave him something to do. He said, climb this ladder to sleep every single night, but write down, I will not climb a ladder. I will not climb a ladder. And you are to refuse to climb a ladder, but you're going to climb a ladder to sleep for 3 nights. And everyone that climbs a ladder can come back to see me in the back of this building, in the back of the Wilshire Ebell Theater, if you have climbed this ladder, if you have actually done it and it worked for you, you can come back and I'm going to coach you even further, and you could have just as easily made $3 million in cash. So my grandfather does all of these things. He climbs the ladder. He does it every night. He's trying to disprove Neville Goddard this entire time because he thinks the entire thing is stupid, that imagination creates reality, that what you're doing as you're falling asleep is going to happen to you in the 3-dimensional world, in the simulation. That's when my grandfather realized that we're living in a simulation, that it's all being created by what you're falling asleep doing. Because in between the conscious state and the unconscious state or the subconscious, there's this little area right in between that my grandfather always called the drift. This little tiny area right in between being conscious and being asleep. Okay? And whatever you take as who you are and what you are doing into this little area in between being conscious or being awake and being asleep, that's what's going to dictate of what happens to you and what comes to you, what you manifest in the next few days, weeks, even years. So my grandfather discovers this little secret that was taught by Neville Goddard, because he climbed the ladder, ended up climbing the ladder. After 3 nights of doing that and him refusing to climb a ladder, he still did it. So he went back and saw Neville Goddard. He went back to the meetings, and the first thing Neville Goddard said to him, he says, you've climbed a ladder. Every one of you have climbed a ladder. And now you realize that this is the truth. This is really how you control the simulation. And you could have just as easily made $3 million in cash as you did climbing that ladder if you just implemented the same techniques as you did with climbing that ladder. So my grandfather trained with Neville Goddard for many, many weeks and many, many months. Did he see Neville Goddard? Neville Goddard was actually a member at one of my grandfather's clubs. He was a VIP member at one of my grandfather's clubs. So they were pretty much friends at this point, coaching each other on different things. But of course, the law of assumption, Neville Goddard was teaching my grandfather. But my grandfather came up with something himself. Out of all of these different things that Neville Goddard was teaching, my grandfather says, okay, so if I can fall asleep doing something and then it comes to my reality, whatever that may be, climbing the ladder or, going to a different country or manifesting a relationship, whatever that may be that he used it for, if that is true, and I've experienced that to be true, then why not count $100 bills or count money or do something that implies that I now have this much money in my life? So my grandfather started mastering this technique. He started counting $100 bills as he's going to sleep at night. And he coined this exercise, the same exercise that I have created, the course that I've created. And this is actually one of the exercises where my grandfather really excelled and made a lot of money. Is what the first ones that he was successful at doing, where he made a lot of money, was counting the $100 bills, because he got this idea from Neville Goddard, just the whole outline and procedure of what you fall asleep with doing. He says, why not just count money as I'm going to sleep then? Why not just skip all the other stuff and go straight to getting money? So my grandfather started counting these $100 bills, and within 6 weeks, he had $25,000 in a safety deposit box. He told me this himself. Within 6 weeks of doing this, but you got to remember, in this time, in the 50s, over 70 years ago, you got to think $25,000 with inflation, the way that it is now, is actually the equivalent to about $750,000 today. So him making $25,000 then was the equivalent to making $750,000 now within this short period of time, within a month and a half, counting $100 bills. But he really did this, though. Like, he didn't just kind of think about doing it and kind of nod off to sleep. He said he was dedicated to doing this. Like, he studied the $100 bill. He studied the $100 bill front to back, looked at it, smelt it, felt it in his hands, and then he sat there and he started visualizing it in his mind, seeing the $100 bill, him holding the $100 bill, and then counting the money individually. And every time he lost track of his attention and it started wandering off, he told me he would bring it right back again, and start over again. He said he would spend sleepless nights doing this, getting up to $100,000, actually counting each bill and feeling it to be real. And there's something else that Neville Goddard taught his VIP students in the back of the Wilshire Ebell Theater that my grandfather taught me. I've talked about this vaguely in the past in certain videos, but it's something that's supposed to speed up your ability to manifest by 7 years. Like, you can skip this 7 years when you do this. And what this essentially does is you go through an experience. You experience that you're living in a simulation, like what we're teaching you, what I'm teaching you, and how we're getting there. But they did certain meditations that got you there to where you can actually experience yourself being one with consciousness, being one with I am, and connecting to God himself. And what my grandfather told me they would do in the back of the Wilshire Ebell Theater is they said they would cover themselves with blankets. And they would go through this procedure of saying this mantra, which is, be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am God. And they would do certain routines with this, where essentially they would leave their bodies, or my grandfather had an experience where he actually took his skin off like it was clothing, and he came outside of his body and connected into the clock on the wall that was in the room that they were in the back of the Wilshire Ebell Theater. He went inside of the clock, and then he went inside of the city of Los Angeles, and then he realized that he was the city of Los Angeles. He was the clock. He was everything. Then he became the entire universe, and then he realized, I am the universe. I am that I am. I am that I am. I am God. Then he connected with everything, and feeling that and experiencing that situation, or just experiencing that feeling of connecting with your true self, which is all consciousness. That sort of experience unlocks your ability to realize that you are everything, that it is just a simulation, that it's all coming from within you. Everything is you. Everything's just a mirror, and you're connected to it, and you can create anything that you want. So when you have this experience and you come back from it, you're not reacting the same way to your world as you did before you had that experience. So, and that's what we're going through with my channel. Is what I'm trying to teach you, is getting to that level to where you know that you're living in a simulation, because when you have these experiences, which we're going to get into, you now understand that the simulation is just a reflection from within you, and it's just a movie that you're watching that's being produced, written, and scripted from within you, from your thoughts and the images in your mind and your feeling states and your moods are all being projected out into space-time, which is, in the screen of space right in front of you. So after my grandfather had experienced this is when he went into counting the $100 bills, and then he really started directing his attention and his present moment awareness by, kind of like the leaf exercise, but he was doing it with $100 bills. So he's counting out these $100 bills, 100, 200, 300, and then if his mind drifted, he had to start over again, 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, and he'd go through this whole process of counting this money, and within 6 weeks, he had $750,000, that equivalent to that at that time, from just simply counting $100 bills. But he was also doing the Arthur Murray Dance Studios. He was making a lot of money doing that. So a lot of the money that came to him through that, and through other visualizations that he was also doing, creating the Arthur Murray Dance Studio. So with time, space, the fourth dimension as it is, the past being completed, the future being completed, sometimes when you're doing a visual scene or you're counting $100 bills, it'll put you in situations where you're going to be creating other things too that are leading you to other things. Then those things are leading you to other visualizations and other affirmations and doing this, and this, and it's all leading up to this, to your completed desire, your completed manifestation, the new person that the subconscious mind has felt you being as you're falling asleep. Because whatever you fall asleep doing is going to happen to you. That's what's predicting what's going to happen to you tomorrow, next week, next month, and in the next few years. Like my grandfather said, in the next few years, that's what's creating that. But counting the $100 bills is a very good practice for developing this, your attention and your present moment awareness, and controlling what's happening to you as you're falling asleep at night. And whatever you fall asleep doing, it's going to create more of that to come into your life until you can accept the ownership of it. Maybe you'll be like, from my own testimonial, when I did this, I ended up the first time counting someone else's money. I'm counting someone else's money. And then I'm like, okay, so I visualized this. I fell asleep counting money. So someone else asked me to count their money. And it was exactly like, it was like $9,800 because I was doing $10,000 the first time. I went back into it and collected the ownership of it. And then I got the money from one of the businesses that I had at that time. I got a job that came in and the guy paid me cash, exactly, $10,000 too. So it'll come in from a vehicle, usually from something that you're already capable of doing within your life. If not, it'll change your concept of yourself, and it'll open up a door to where you do create something where the money will come to you. Or it could be something more magical than that. So my goal of this video is to get you to do this exercise, and I'm going to give it to you absolutely free. You don't have to give me anything. You have to give me nothing. I'm going to send it to you for free. I want everyone to learn how to use their imaginations and to experience that you're living in a simulation, and understand that when you start counting this money, you really fall asleep counting it, that something's going to happen to where money's all of a sudden going to come to you when you haven't seen it for weeks. All of a sudden, paper money is going to start coming to you because you're counting it as you're going to sleep at night. But there's other ways it can come to you too. It can come to you digitally. It's just the feeling that you are now abundant as you're falling asleep, that you are in possession of money. It can come to you digitally. It can come to you in other ways as well. Not just paper money, but you're going to notice more money coming to you from this. So I'm going to put a link right on the screen in front of you right now. You're going to see it on the screen. And if you click on that, it's going to take you to my landing page where I'm going to send you a free copy of this course right to your email. Absolutely free. There's a link right on the screen. Click on that link, or there's a link in the description, or you can go to my YouTube store, which is right in front of you as well. You'll see it right below my video and the description. There's a YouTube store. And if you click on that, it's going to take you to the same place where you can get the free manifestation workbook on counting $100 bills as you're falling asleep at night. Step-by-step approach to how you can do this. I love you all, and I'll see you in the next video.